and welcome to Soul Beginnings on 98.7 KISS FM. I'm Bob Slade, and on this show we like to mix music with memories, and as promised, we'll focus on a time when inmates riot at Attica. Roberta Flack makes her debut. James Brown pays tribute to sexy women's fashions, and a man named Bill Withers makes one of the shortest hits on record. It's all contained in part 2 of our look back at the summer of 1971.
KISS FM.
I got up this morning.
Back in the early 1970s, there were a lot of Fifth Dimension imitators, and Free Movement was one of them. A 6-member group out of Los Angeles with their only hit, Found Someone of My Own, which was a bigger pop success than R&B. And the beginning of the end with the dance classic Funky Nassau. And this is Soul Beginnings of 98.7 KISS FM. I'm Bob Slade, and this week we're looking back on the summer of 1971. And it was a coming-out year for actor-director Clint Eastwood. Universal released 2 of his films, one in early summer, a psychological sex drama titled The Beguiled, and in late summer he made his directorial debut playing a disc jockey stalked by an obsessive fan in Play Misty for Me.
I never lied to you.
Big deal. He never lied to me. Well, what do you want for that? The Congressional Medal of Honor?
So long.
What am I supposed to do? Sit here all dressed up in my little horse suit waiting for my lord and master to call?
Nobody asked you to wait for it.
You're not jumping me, Buster Blue Eyes.
Get off my back, Evelyn.
Get off your back. That's where you've been keeping me, isn't it? You're nothing. You're not even good in bed. I just felt sorry for you, that's all. Bastard!
Jessica Walter's performance has that crazy fan scared disc jockeys nationwide. There was also an interesting piece of music Eastwood used as background for a love scene between himself and actress Donna Mills. The voice belonged to a newcomer, Roberta Flack, taken from her debut album on Atlantic, First Take. The song, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. This song would become a #1 hit 8 months later. But R&B fans were introduced to Roberta courtesy of this duet with Howard University classmate Donny Hathaway in the summer of 1971. Donnie's You've Got a Friend, an R&B cover of the James Taylor pop hit, also out at the same time. The song was written by Carole King and Tony Stern and performed on Carole King's Tapestry album, which was selling like hotcakes in the summer of 1971. King, along with her former husband Jerry Goffin, had written a string of R&B hits back in the 1960s for the Shirelles and the Drifters and many other R&B acts, so her music had an R&B feel to it. And black record buyers crossed over and plopped down $3.99 for her album and the song that sold it, It's Too Late.
.7 KISS FM. Soul.
The Dramatics' debut single, What You See Is What You Get, for Stax Volt out of Memphis, and for Ralphie Pagan's remake of Bread's Make It With You. And this is Soul Beginnings of 98.7 KISS FM. There were a number of debuts in the summer of 1971. Gene Knight with Mr. Big Stuff, Undisputed Truth with Smiling Faces. But the one that really made people take notice actually had a top 5 R&B hit in 1967 called Back Up Train. He switched to London Records' High label, and after 4 stiffs, Al Green hit Pay Dirt in the late summer of 1971 with this song.
I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of being alone.
Al Green's Tired of Being Alone kicked off a string of 13 straight top 10 R&B hits, making him the top male performer from 1971 through 1975. Back then, everything Al Green touched turned to gold, and there hasn't been a streak like that since. This is Soul Beginnings on 98.7 KISS FM. I'm Bob Slade. We'll take a break and return with more after this.
Mario! Mario! Are you out there?
Nintendo 64.
Mario!
It won't be released until September 29th.
Yo, Mario! Mario!
But you can be the first to play with one right now at the Toys R Us Test Drive Arcade. So grab your friends, hurry in, and get your hands on the Nintendo 64. And just for coming in, you can get a free Nintendo 64 tip sheet, so you can take your favorite Italian plumber exploring in totally 3D worlds without getting totally lost. And you can also be the first to play the newest, coolest games for the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation. The Toys R Us Test Drive Arcade. You won't just feel like you're in an arcade, you'll be in one.
Mario!
Yeah, what do you want?
Let's go to the Toys R Us Test Drive Arcade so we can play the new Nintendo 64.
Sounds good to me, Luigi.
The Test Drive Arcade at Toys R Us. Get here fast, play it first.
If you thought you had no chance of getting tickets to the hottest show in town, you thought wrong. Bring in the Noise, Bring in the Funk is giving you that chance by putting new tickets on sale through January 5th. Now you can get great seats at the new Broadway musical that's bringing in the raves. The New York Times cheers, sing hallelujah. Bring in the Noise, Bring in the Funk is flying higher than ever. New Yorker magazine writes, the audience yells, bring it. And that's exactly what they do. They bring joy, they bring fury, they bring history and ecstasy. They bring the musical right up to the minute. And Newsweek magazine says Noise Funk is guaranteed to knock theatergoers right out of their seats. Now you can see Tony Award winner Savion Glover and an extraordinary company of dancers and musicians in this winner of 4 1996 Tony Awards. Now you can bring in the noise, bring in the funk. Directed by two-time Tony Award winner George C. Wolfe at the Ambassador Theater. The beat goes on, so call Telecharge today, 212-239-6200, and feel the power for yourself.
I had a date with you-know-who last night.
She's glowing.
Talk to us, Nina. You wouldn't believe how he touched me.
Details.
Well, I'm glad I use Ambi.
Ambi skincare products are the only products I use. And you look stunning, too. Nina, go on, girl. What did he say?
That he's never felt anything as soft and smooth.
And how do you plan to keep him coming back for more of this divine softness?
The same way I got this soft in the first place. My Ambi skincare system. I use Ambi Beautifying Complex.
With aloe vera.
It's a moisturizing gel that lifts dead skin cells. It made my dry, dull-looking skin radiant and silky. And I can't live without my skin-softening Ambi Cocoa Butter products. And Ambi soaps. There's one for every skin type.
I guess you're an Ambi woman.
And I'm glad I am.
Ambi. Beautiful skin that's more than skin deep.
Available at CVS Pharmacy stores. Just what you are looking for.
How does one define tranquility on the radio? To some, it sounds like water trickling over a stream bed nestled in a mountain valley. To others, it can merely be the calm sound of silence. Well, our engineers believe that this sound is the definition of tranquility. That's the door being closed on an Avalon, the American-built flagship of Toyota. Its advanced 200-horsepower V6 engine provides a truly refined driving experience. While Avalon's available 6-passenger seating and soft leather-trimmed seats furnish a spacious, comfortable interior. And with a surprisingly low starting price, the value associated with this unique experience will sound pretty relaxing as well. Avalon, the flagship of Toyota. Experience the tranquility today.
Welcome back to Soul Beginnings on 98.7 KISS FM. I'm Bob Slade, and this is part 2 of our look back at the summer of 1971. And the big fashion statement of that summer was hot pants. Ladies were showing off more leg than ever before, and James Brown paid tribute to the fashion fad with this #1 R&B song during the month of August.
Hot pants.
Soul Beginnings, 98.7 KISS FM.
War with all-day music and James Brown's Hot Pants. a song pop radio tried to ignore but couldn't. And this is Soul Beginnings on 98.7 KISS FM. The Mighty Three, Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, and Tom Bell, were the most sought-after producers in R&B in 1971. If there was a love ballad, call the Mighty Three. Tom Bell, working as a hired gun, spread his talents around, and his efforts included this hit for the Delphonics. Honeycomb with their follow-up to Want Ads, Stick Up. And this is Soul Beginnings in 98.7 KISS FM. In the summer of 1971, sports fans were marveling over the pitching exploits of Oakland rookie Vida Blue. Blue, who had started the 1971 All-Star Game, had 17 wins going into the second half of the season. On June 28th, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed a lower court jury conviction of Muhammad Ali for refusing military induction. The vote was 8-0. On July 3rd, Jim Morrison of The Doors dies in Paris of an apparent drug overdose. On August 11th, New York City Mayor John Lindsay switches his party affiliation from Republican to Democrat. And on September 9th, inmates revolt and take 32 guards hostage at Attica State Prison. The inmate population, made up of mostly black and Latino men from the inner cities, were being guarded by an all-white staff from that surrounding community. Many described the situation as a disaster waiting to happen, and it did. More than 1,000 inmates took control of Attica's D-Block section. It began as a scuffle between two inmates, but when word spread that the guards had beaten up the inmates during the night, Attica exploded. The inmates released 9 guards injured early in the rebellion, and on orders from New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, State Corrections Commissioner Russell Oswald was dispatched to the scene.
It's a difficult period for everybody in the state, and naturally the correction officers have got concerns, their families have got concerns, they're worried.
Will you back Commissioner Oswald's plan for reform of the prison system?
Yes, I back Commissioner. I appointed him only 6 months ago just in order to do the job which he is trying to undertake and hopes to undertake, and I'm confident will undertake.
Oswald countermanded the orders of Attica's warden to retake the prison and decided to negotiate personally with the inmates. In his second meeting with those inmates, Oswald brought in TV cameras, and the inmates listed 30 demands.
I've complied with the several things I said I would do as my part. I saw the 3 individuals you told me to see. I brought the press and other media in here to listen as we talk. I earlier promised you there would be no reprisals other than what any law enforcement district attorney might take in terms of any crimes that might have been committed. I also asked that the
amnesty. Positions hardened, and when one of the inmates threatened to keep Oswald hostage, he decided not to return. That left negotiations in the hands of a committee of outsiders the inmates considered friendly. They included Buffalo Assemblyman Arthur Eve, Congressman Herman Badillo, Black Panther leader Bobby Seale, and attorney William Kunstler.
Strong disagreement on criminal amnesty because the district attorney of Wyoming County has said he will go ahead and prosecute. I think that can be worked out, but we have to sit down and do it.
And the inmates look to the 30-man committee as their only chance.
If you people cannot make the commitment that we have made here, we are dead.
And on September 12th, one of the guards injured in the first minutes of the riot died. And that meant amnesty was out of the question. And when talks failed again, Monday the 13th of September, the state decided that was it. They had had enough, and they were moving in. Helicopters dropping tear gas, state troopers and National Guardsmen firing at anything that moved. It took 6 minutes to retake Attica, a one-sided fight. The state police had all the guns. Officials claim the inmates slashed the throats of 9 of the hostages, but as autopsies were performed, it was revealed that all of the dead, the 9 hostages and the 28 inmates, were killed by gunshots. The assault to retake Attica prison had gone wrong. The police had killed the hostages. The media asked questions. The state dodged answers, tried to cover up. There was even a report issued, fingers pointed, nothing really accomplished. A sad ending to a busy summer of 1971.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Grandma, if I get to heaven, I'll look for Grandma's hand.
Aretha Franklin with Spanish Harlem, the Jackson 5 with Maybe Tomorrow, and Bill Withers' debut single, Ain't No Sunshine on Sussex. The flip side of that record received a lot of R&B airplay as well, Grandma's Hands, which had to be one of the shortest songs on record. And that is our show for this week. Special thanks to Johnny Meadows, Raleigh James, Carol Ford, Johnny Allen, the folks at Major League Baseball Productions and CBS News, and our associate producer, Bob Pickett. I'm Bob Slade. Keep a good thought, and we'll see you next time as we remember the times on Soul Beginnings. Bye-bye.